I'm starting with the Victorian witch hat. This is a wire form that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to give you some measurements here so that you can find something similar if you don't have any at your Dollar Tree. You can certainly trace this out on a piece of foam board and make your own form. It'll work too. I've done that before on witch hats. I have some felt, just a little scrap here, but it's enough to cover most of my form. And this is going to be the backing. You could maybe use some construction paper or something like that on the back of yours if you choose. But this works for me because I had some scraps that I need to go through anyway. So rather than donating, let's use it. Leave about 1 inch around each of the sides of the form, and then I'm going to cut into the corners here because we're going to wrap this around the wire form. Now my glue temperature setting is on low, so it's a cooler temperature. It's going to be easier to work with because I'm going to be using a lot of glue, and it's going to prevent some materials that I use later on that are questionable when you're using a very high temp glue gun. So we're just going to use cool for this project. I'm just bending that over now, pressing it down onto this form and onto itself. It doesn't matter that my corners aren't covered. You'll see what we do with that later, but certainly if you have enough material to cover yours, you can go ahead and do that. And I'm going to wrap the bottom here. I find that using a squiggly line or a little zigzag gives me a little bit better coverage. I'm just pressing that down. You don't want to squeeze your form up. You don't want to change the shape of that wire, and it's pretty pliable, so just be careful there. Follow the shape of your form, and I'm going to go all the way around and do the same thing. This is going to be the back. So what you're seeing is actually the inside, and you'll understand that in a few minutes. You'll see what I'm going to do. So the point is going to go a little bit higher than the actual point on the witch's hat because I liked a sharper taper on this. So there we go. It's got a little ratty looking end. I am totally okay with that. Now I'm going to take a pillow. This is just one I'm going to use to take the stuffing out of. I don't have any pillowcases to fit it, so it was also in the donation pile. I'm just going to take that apart, fluff it out really well so it's not compacted or too lumpy. We want it to be cloud-like or wispy. Then I'm going to take, again, the cooler temperature glue, start squeezing that out on the bottom of the triangle part of this hat. We're not going to go onto the flat or brim part of the hat with this. I want to get, this is going to be like a padding, so our hat's going to have some dimension rather than being a flat hat. So just going to continue along like this and make sure that it is on the inside and not bulging out over the outside, making sure we don't have any lumps that are bigger than anything else. And we're going to start off with a layer that's going to be pretty much the same width or thickness all the way down. I'm going to continue along, and you can see that we have that nice and covered. We can still see all of the black edges, and that's good. We want to do that. Now about halfway down or 2/3 of the way down, we're going to start thickening up on that section. That's going to be a little wider, just like it would be with a regular hat. It's going to be wider at the bottom because that's where your hat goes. That's where your head goes. Okay, so I love this contact paper. It came from the Dollar Tree. I've seen it used on lots of videos and lots of projects, but I thought what a beautiful, shabby chic witch's hat this would make. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to peel this apart, and you're going to see that I have a little bit of a problem here getting off a clean finish, but that doesn't matter. That's not going to show. It's going to be kind of trimmed off. So you see there on the side, a little messy. That's okay. All right, so the pretty side down. Now I'm going to put the fluffy side of the hat down on top of it. So all of that batting is now on the adhesive side of that contact paper. Now I'm going to trim this out as well. Just going to start by trimming in the bottom, and I want to leave more than 1 inch on the sides. I want to leave more of like probably 2 inches because we want to allow for the room that the the batting on the inside creates, or that pillow fluff. We don't want to squish it down till it's flat. So just pulling it and wrapping it around, pressing this down. My contact paper stuck just fine to this felt. If yours does not, go ahead and use a little bit of that glue or maybe some spray adhesive to help tack it down there. So I'm just going to wrap that part, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with the brim there. I'm pressing it down, then I'm going to cut and fold it down. That way I can still create that curve on the bottom. So see there? Now we still have that nice flat front, just like this, and we have the curve. So making sure that the batting is not in the brim, go ahead and pull that down and start pressing it down on the felt on the bottom of the back of that brim. Now you can either trim off that extra on the bottom or you can wrap it around, it won't matter. I'm just wrapping the tip up there, elongating that hat just a tad, and you can see that it's padded. It's got some dimension, and I love the look of it. It came out exactly how I saw it in my mind. And you know, when you're crafting, it doesn't always turn out that way. You start with the idea and you think, I'm going to run with this, and then you go completely off course and you do something else. I like it when a plan comes together. Okay, so we're going to start with this lacy black trim. This came from Goodwill. You can get yours wherever you like. Then you're going to start laying it down. Now I want that, excuse my head, I want that line down there close to the bottom for my first row, because we're going to layer this going upwards, and I want it to be thick and lush. So that means we're going to have to layer it pretty tightly in here. Now because I'm using a cool temp glue, that bead of glue will sit right there on that. If you use hot glue, it's going to run down on your table and you're going to make a mess. Going to continue along just like this, layering over the top about probably 1/4 of an inch, I would say. You can see where I'm running that bead of glue for each one of those layers, and you can do it all the way up. Keep in mind this is a curved, and if you're using a straight piece of ribbon, you may need to kind of bunch it up a little bit to get it to fit the curves of your hat. Okay, so we're going to cut it a little bit longer because we want to cover up that top piece. So you're just going to fold your lace over and press it down. That's going to give it the little black edge there. Just going to tuck under here and then keep going. And I'm going to do this process until I get up where the hat meets the brim. So the base of the hat, the triangle there, meets the brim. Easy enough, right? And I think one more run will be perfect. Y'all have to excuse my head. I'm standing up because I had to raise my camera way up high to be able to get this in the view for you. Okay, so same thing here. It's curved. We're just going to curve it on around, let it do its thing. We're not going to see it from the back, so this is not going to matter. Now, I also found this pretty mesh at Goodwill as well. And I thought, well, it's a piece of, I guess, sheer material, sheer fabric. I'm just going to kind of accordion fold it or gather it up like this. And we're going to tie this to make like a sash around the hat. Now, I did not have any longer piece than this. I would have loved to have it hanging down like a veil, but I didn't have enough for that. So I'm doing what I can with what I've got. I had to use it on this piece though. Clearly it had to be used. It's very Victorian. I'm going to take that glue, again on a cooler temp, and be very careful that you don't burn your fingers, but the thickness of this is allowing me to touch it without hurting myself. And I'm going to press it down, and then you want to flip it over and do the same thing on the back. Keep it in mind that you want to keep it as low down to the brim as you can so there's no gaps. Just like that. And by the way, if you're looking for any of the products that I use, most of my tools can be found linked below in the description box. I am an Amazon affiliate, so just so that you know that, I want to let you know that I do earn a tiny bit of money from it, but it's at no extra cost to you. So I just put those down there because I think it would be helpful to you, and if it helps you, then it helps me. Okay, so rather than tying in a knot, which would take up too much of the length of my little sash here, I've decided just to loop it over and tie it off. And I'm just tying it off with a little scrap piece of raffia that I have. But you can use ribbon, you can use a zip tie, whatever you want to use if you want to do it the same way as me. Now it's time to make it look very fancy. We're going to start using some picks. Use any type of black picks you have if we're doing black and white. I have some weeping willow, I have a Dollar Tree pick, and I have some thrifted, I think those are oak leaves down there. And I'm just going to kind of lay them out, see what I have, and see how I want to fix this for this hat. You could always go right across the brim on the bottom if you would like to do it this way, but I think I'm going to try something different. So trim up where you need to trim and layer these on, just like I'm doing here. I try to keep these in my hand once I start cutting them down so I know exactly where to put my ties. These little picks from Dollar Tree are amazing in my opinion. There's so many different pieces on there. You can really trim them up and cut them down. You'll see me do that on a project later in this video as well. So right now we're just going to leave this as one piece. I'm going to take that second piece of oak stem and put it across the bottom where the stems are so that you can't see them. And it is hid, and it makes a beautiful little swag, don't you think? I have some black zip ties. I'm going to put those around here. These are great. They come in a huge pack from Dollar Tree, so you really, really save money by buying them there. Clip it off, and then now we need to attach it down to our hat. Now I already had this piece left from the sash, which is glued firmly in place. So I feel like it's going to be strong enough for this part just to tie it on right across where we attached it with a zip tie. So that's what I'm doing. Tying it off in a few knots. Trimming that off because we don't need it anymore. It's done its job. And then I'm going to see how I want it to hang. Do I want it to lay off to the side? Do I want it to stand up a little bit more? I think it needs a little bit more support. So I'm going to just take a piece of floral wire and flip this over and attach it right from the little stem here to the frame underneath. And it stands up like this, just off to a little slant. And you can see here where I twisted it, right there. It's staying in place quite nicely, just like that. Okay, so now the bottom part of our hat is done. We need to work on the top up there. I've got some of this really cool mesh tubing, and it's kind of like spiky or tinsel-y like. It's got little things poking out of it. I don't know what you call that, but I got those from Dollar Tree in the Halloween section, and I thought that's so cute, and it kind of looks like spider legs. So I'm just going to tie those up, and then I want to put a jewel on there, right? Yes, a ruby would be beautiful since we have that red rose. So I'm just going to put some glue in the center and place down this beautiful jewel because this is a very regal witch and we want her to look lovely. And by the way, these leaves are velvet. They're so pretty. I'm going to tie this on and then tie it right on that little extra piece at the end of the hat. It elongates that hat. It really brings your eye up there and continues that beautiful richness from the top all the way down through the bottom. Once I've got it tied on, I'm going to glue it down because that is contact paper, which has a slick surface, and this could easily pop off. So I'm going to glue it down and trim it up and a little more glue behind that stone just to hold it in place. And I have no idea where I got this stone from. It has been in my craft supplies, so I'm not sure where it came from. Now I wanted to dull this down just a bit because it was coming off a little bright. And she is a witch, so she's probably had this hat for millennia. So I took my little furniture markers and just colored that down a little bit and deepened up that color. Now for the hanger, I'm just going to use a twisted piece of floral wire into a loop, press it down right over where that rope or that little piece of jute was before, let it dry, and then it's ready to hang. What do you think? This is definitely a different spin on a witch hat. Okay, now we have a Victorian dress form. If you don't have something like this that I got at Goodwill, you can definitely use those floral foams. One, you would just cut like the top third of it off and invert it on top of another one that is completely one piece. And then you would get basically the same shape. But I'm going to show you how to use it with what we have. So, some greenery picks in a reddish color. I've got another Dollar Tree pick, some red ribbon, and some more of that black trim. Love these. I should have gotten more. Really, really love them. I think they come in a purple too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a purple. Okay, so I have scraps of this left, and I thought, you know what? Let's do a wreath form. Let's give her a beautiful ball dress. So of course, proportionately, you would never wear these two things together, but it gives you an idea of her having her dressing station and all of her goodies set up so that she can be beautiful and she can be queen of the Halloween ball. That's how I see this witch. She's a good witch. She's not bad. Okay, so to cover this top part, I'm just putting some little darts almost in here so that the bodice part, which is where my hand is, would go over the chest, would narrow down into the waist. And so in order to make that lay flat, I need to cut some slits up to that area and then just press it down. Very simple. And then you will see that it starts to have somewhat of a female shape. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim this off here because there's going to be something very special about this dress that you'll see at the end of the video, so be sure you stick around. Okay, now, because I don't have anything to really attach my contact paper to, I'm going to use a little bit of clear tape. The bottom of this dress is going to be wrapped with contact paper. This is so I have a nice, even, easy surface to attach down my lace trim. So I'm just going to cut down my contact paper. I got this from Dollar Tree, so you can find yours there. It's going to be about the same height as it would be up to the waist area of that dress. Cut it down, take the backing off, and then I'm just going to lay it where it needs to be. Now, for this shape, I'm going to basically try to get the bottom to fit first. So I'm sticking it down on the tape that's there, and that's why the tape is there. It has something for the contact paper to grip to. So I'm just pressing down with my fingers, and I'm going to be trimming off what I don't need. So once we get all the way around, I won't need any excess. It's just in the way anyway. I'm going to cut down to where the bottom of the dress starts to taper upward, and then pull and overlap. You're not going to see this. It is not a problem, but there you go. Now it's like a little closed-in cage, and we can put all of this lace right on top. So I'm going to start at the bottom and start going around. Again, please use your cool temperature and protect your fingers. I didn't do it here. I should have had my finger protectors on, but I really wanted to get this video out to you, so I was rushing. People are enjoying, it seems, my Halloween content, so I am trying to make sure that I give you lots and lots to look at, lots of inspiration. I know I feel very inspired when I get comments from you guys, and you know, encouragement and love and support. It really makes me keep going. It really keeps me motivated, and it just lightens my mood. It lightens my day, and it makes this amount of work so much easier to do. So when we get to the top and we're trying to finish off the waist section, we're just going to fold this over kind of straight and then trim it down. Don't worry if this doesn't look perfect, because we are going to embellish this, of course. So what do you think? This is a pretty little dress. Got her beautiful flowers on the top and the lace layers on the bottom. And we need to make the lace lay flat. So we're just going to take a couple of snips here into the natural little areas where the lace goes upward. We're just going to put some little slits there, and that's going to help it lay flat when we put it down. So you'll see in just a moment. It's going to be a little blurry, but you get the gist. Okay, see now it'll stand up straight, and you can see the little lace on the bottom. I want to trim the top, so I've cut a piece of lace down. You can see how I'm trying to see how much I need. I'm going to trim it, Going to use that cool glue again. And then working in little sections, I'm going to go around the top with just the trim part of that lace and press it down right over the top. Just like that. Are you guys enjoying this video? Do you like witch decor in your Halloween? Good witch, of course. Nothing bad, nothing negative, nothing, you know. This is a good witch. This could be Glinda the Good Witch at Halloween. Who knows? But I hope you do like it. And I've got lots of Halloween videos and all kinds of inspiration and goodness. So be sure you check out those videos as well. I will have them linked. Alright, I'm just going to give a little extra trim here to cover up any extra glue or mess that I have there. And it's the same mesh. I'm just going to go around there. Do not press this mesh. Do not press the mesh down too firmly because it will go flat on you. It will be completely flat instead of cylindrical like that. Next we're going to put almost like a belt, and we're going to cut off a piece of ribbon here for that. And I'm going to cut my ends in a slant. You can dovetail or anything that you prefer to do on yours, and you don't have to use wired ribbon, and you don't have to use a piece that is this big. Totally up to you, whatever you like. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of these picks and continue to cut it apart because we're going to use this in separate parts. This is a smaller item, so the little spray of flowers that we're going to put on her waistline is going to be a bit smaller in scale than what is on the hat. So I'm just, you know, kind of looking around, seeing what I think I might like. I love this. And this is not a rose. This is like a carnation, I think. Okay, so I'm going to play around with my placement. See how I want each one of these little individual picks to go. You do whatever looks good to you. And certainly you don't even have to cut this apart. You could leave it into one piece if you like the way it was, or just bend it around on the wires. But you'll have to cut the big stalk, that big chunk on the bottom off so that it lays flat. It's just going to be easier for you to work with. Take another one of those zip ties and zip it up. Trim off your extra. I always use my clippers because I don't want to mess up my scissors. So I use these little bullnose pliers. Okay, now I'm just twisting around. They're on wire, so you can do that. And then going to decide how I want this to lay. What's going to be the top? What's going to be the bottom? I'm going to use this little ribbon sash that we made, and it's going to go right around that section. It's going to hold it down better than glue would hold it. Well, that's my opinion. That's my opinion and experience. And I've been doing this a long time. I always say, do what works for you. Now, I want to add some more red in here. And I think that the beautiful reddish color in these leaves from this thrifted pick will work great in here. So I'm just going to add 2 of these pieces, just the oak pieces, off of here. Thread it up. If you have extra pieces of wire, just cut those off. Just like that. Now you can put some picks in the top if you would like, and you will have a beautiful little arrangement. Those are my leftover picks, or you can leave it just as it is. Whatever you choose to do is gonna be great. Give me a thumbs up if you like this. What do you think about this? I gotta tell you, I'm kind of digging this. And you know I love my orange, black, and white, but something about this. I love that. So encouraging. There we go. Look at that. So would you put something in the top of that or just leave it as is? And look at the bottom. I put a candle in there. It's a flameless candle, so now her dress will glow. Isn't that perfect? I'd love for you to subscribe and join our family. This is number 10, and if you're still here, please leave me a jack-o'-lantern. This thing is so cute. Alright, so I'm going to use the thrifted little stand. I'm going to use some spray paint to give it a good coat of paint. I'm going to use some of these vase filler pieces from Dollar Tree. You can get raffia at Dollar Tree. I'm going to use a couple of different colors. I'm going to use some scrap pieces of floral foam, and I'm going to use some of those wire cutters. I'm going to stuff the inside of my little cauldron, and you can get these at Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to stuff it with some scrap pieces of floral foam. This is just to fill it up so we have something to set our piece of paper on the top. I've taken a piece of paper, filled it straight in the top. It goes right down that lip and sits on top of the foam. Now we're going to start making the insides of whatever it is this witch has cooked up. So we're going to use black and orange bubbles. You can use any color you want, but I like black and orange and white, so that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to add dots of glue and put these down. You try to use a cool temp if you have a cool temp on your glue gun. Mine has 2 different temperatures because these are foam and they can melt, so just be very careful. And you see that one stuck to my finger protector and came right off. Look at that, what a mess. You're going to keep adding. I'm just kind of going around and looking at the size of the holes and the shape and the color, and just adding in where I need to add in. So you can see there I'm adding in little ones and big ones, just going around and around the top until the top is completely finished. You could definitely leave those little glue strings on there if you wanted to. Might give it a little extra creepy look. So there's the top of it so far. Here is our dried painted base. Love it. Very cute. Now we're going to use a wood circle to be the base of what we're doing next. Okay, so I'm going to take some of this straw, and I'm going to almost like roll it into a nest, because this is going to be like the base of our fire. We're going to have a fire because we got to have something cooking in that pot, right? Got to have it cooking in that cauldron. So I'm going to take some glue, take that spool that I have wound up there, place it down, and then I'm going to cut around it. It's easier for me to do it this way. You could certainly just go ahead and put that straight on the top of the little base riser that we have, but I didn't want to quite do it that way. I don't know why this particular raffia has knots in it. Just work around it. Now you're going to take this and wrap it around your 4 fingers. Just wrap it around there a whole bunch of times. Slide it off. And then you're going to cut it. And when you cut it, you got 2 different sides here. Just like this. And this is going to be like a fire. Nice. So now you got to tie it together and get you another piece of that raffia. I should have done that before I cut it, but I didn't. Just to show you it can be done. Go ahead and tie it in the middle so that nothing comes apart. Now, the darker the color, the closer to the bottom of the fire it should be, right? If you've ever looked at flames, that's kind of how it looks. I'm going to put my red on the bottom. This is like a dark orange, actually. I'm going to just glue it right in the center. It kind of looks like flames coming up, right? Now this is what I should have done the first time. Wrap it around your hand, get your loops, get another piece, tie it. Then you're gonna put your thumb on the knot, pull it up, cut it. Now you've got your orange layer. You can just trim that down, however you want to trim it, and put it across and inside the darker color one. Needs to be a little shorter, trim it up. Easy, easy. I'm going to put some glue there and just put it across or on top of the darker color there. It's almost like an X, but it doesn't matter. You can do it however you want, but this will keep it from being too bulky in the center. I'm pressing down really, really hard there to make sure that that glue goes all the way through to the base. Now we're ready to set the cauldron down. It's perfectly down in there. So now we can go ahead and put it on the top of our little pedestal. Okay, now how's that? Pretty cool. It's so cute. I love this. Okay, so now I'm going to take my glue gun and start putting bubbles over the side so it is bubbling down into the fire. You might want to use the smaller bubbles as you go down, but you don't have to. You can do this any way that you want to. I'm going to go back in and add things to the top, add things around the side. I'm just tilting it here so that you can see a little bit better what it is that I am doing. I could have cut all this out in editing, but I know some people need to see the details, so I'm just showing you how I kind of twist these and turn them and how I add these in. Be sure that you kind of alternate your colors. You can use some orange, you can use some black. It's going to give it some depth and some interest. And I'm just going all the way down and even onto the base there. So it is bubbled out and is spilled onto the base. You can also, if you run out of the small ones like I did, you can take some of the larger ones and just cut them with scissors and just glue that foam part straight down. And I think I left a part of that in there to show you how I do it. Let's see, do I? I think I do. So here I'm just cutting, and then you can just put that down and it gives it a little bit of a smaller bubble, just like that. So you want to continue on. If you have enough and you want to go all the way down, you certainly can, but I wanted to stop right here on the base. Oh my gosh, I love this. But if we've got bubbles, we need smoke, right? So to signify steam or smoke or a witchy spell coming out of here, I'm going to make some curls out of one piece of my pipe cleaners. You can see I just made little twists around a piece of stick that I have there, and I'm just going to poke these down in the empty spots. Oh, how cute! Would you have put those in there or left them out? I think it looks cute. I think it looks like steam coming out. Oh, I hope y'all like this one. Alright, so these are scraps. This is just some purple, again, greenery. I've got some of these blue little flocked balls. I have some, this says fall grass, and purples and violets and indigo colors. That's what we're going with, right? And then also black. These are little scrap pieces that I had. It's got some glitter. And then these are from little Temu posters. And these are my branches from Temu. Love them. Okay, so here's my hat that I got at the thrift store. This is actually a Hobbit hat. And it isn't hollow all the way up to the top. Then this is a round sign from Dollar Tree. And I've got some batting. Or you can cut open an old pillow. Now, see, the top of this hat actually fits onto your head, and then it's supposed to look kind of slouchy, but I don't want to do that. I want mine to look a little more upright, so I've got to cut this lining out so that I can stuff this in a way that it's going to stand up. That's what I like. I still like the little wire in the end. We're still going to have a little curl on the end, but we definitely got to stuff it full so it can, you know, hold its shape. So now I'm just pulling that sheet of batting part, and then I'm going to shred it with my hands. Just shredding, 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 pulling all of the shape out of it. I want it to be like a cloud, just fluffy, fluffy, fluffy everywhere. No thick edges. I'll start by just pushing a little bit up into the tip of the hat, or right up to the tip of the hat, to start the shape. It just takes a little bit of patience, y'all, and you need to kind of maneuver it around with your hands on the inside and the outside of the hat so that you get that conical shape that you need without a bunch of bulging and bumps. You want it to look high-end, right? We always strive for that high-end look. We don't want anything to look cheap and like we just barely put any effort into it. Okay, so once you get it as fluffy as you like, make sure that it can stand on its own. And that's what I'm doing here. I am going to, since my hat has sort of a regular brim, I decided that maybe stacking it just a little bit would help that shape conform and stick down to this sign. So I'm just using a couple of pieces of foam and my double stick tape, or my nano tape. You can see how strong that holds. And I'm going to layer a couple of pieces on there until I get it, you know, where I feel like it will stay. I didn't use the hot glue because it will melt through the plastic and the foam, and likely come off. And then be sure you drop your glue gun, because that's a very important step. You can't miss that step. Good grief. All right, so then we're going to put the hot glue on that. It doesn't have to be directly center, but it has to be to the point where it can support your hat. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue to make it grab down, and then I'll flip it over, and you can see mine's not exactly the center. Are we going to stress about it? We're not. Okay. Now where I can get the tip of the glue gun in, I'm just going to add some more just to be sure that it is secure down on there. And this is actually a round that I had and I used for a different craft. That's why you see the blue and white on there. That's the only reason. That's fabric that is Mod Podge down. Use it for a spring craft. So I do use a lot of my stuff over. Okay, now it's going to stand up on its own. Okay, now we're going to put florals on here. If you saw my candy corn witch's wreath, you already know what I'm doing here. If not, I'll tell you. Little pick here is going to hold these two pieces together. It's just going to give it some strength while I grab a little bit of the masking tape that I have. It is like a white masking tape / painter's tape, something like that. It wasn't labeled when I found it, so I can't be completely sure, but just use some tape. I wouldn't recommend duct tape because if you're getting florals in there, it's very hard to poke a stem through the duct tape. So you want something you can pierce through. What I'm trying to do here is make essentially a wreath form that will fit around the hat, or a hat bat. A hat bat? A foam hat band. Good grief. I'm going batty. Yeah. To go around the place where a hat band would be. Okay? But that didn't make sense because, it didn't make sense to me either. Now you can see what I'm doing. There we go. All right. Yes. Logic is back in the picture. Okay, now we're going to make sure that we cut all of our pieces apart like we always do. Trim everything down. You can start by leaving your limbs or your stems a little bit longer, and then as you're putting your arrangement together, you can trim what needs to be trimmed. I'm going to take these beautiful picks. I'm going to pierce them with the end, and then I will take some of these floral pins and put them into that foam. If you do it in an angle, it will really hold it in place well. In my opinion, it works really well for me to do it that way. And then you're going to overlap the top of the next piece over the end of the other piece. And you're going to go all the way around. So what if you don't have this greenery? Then use a different type of greenery. Whatever you want. The idea is to cover up the band and make this hat look nice and lush. Like a lot of greenery in my stuff. Okay, so talking about the budget-friendly stuff, this is Dollar Tree and thrifted pieces. If you're buying all of your stuff and you don't want to use as much, you definitely don't have to. Just so what you could do to take the place would be get something that is very full. You could actually use like the colored leaves or something here if you wanted to, like the fall leaves if you wanted to, and put those around here. They would really cover that up and take up a lot of space, so you could save a little money by doing it that way if you like. I always try to remind y'all when people are like, well, that's really not budget friendly with as much as you put on there. Well, it all depends on your personal budget, really, and where you get your stuff from. If you get all of your materials very, very cheaply, then that is budget friendly. And if you put a ton of stuff on here at a budget friendly price, you're not going to go in a store and buy the same nice, lush, and full piece if you're on a budget. I promise you, you're not going to. I've seen prices of stuff. I've seen in craft shows what people charge, and I understand it. I get it. They work hard. People work hard on the things that they make, and I get that. I understand it totally. All right, so then I thought we've got to put these beautiful pieces in here, and what better place than just around the band? So I'm just going in at an angle, going in with the same circular shape as we put in the beautiful little flowers, and I guess we could just call that heather. It looks a little bit like heather, but I don't know. You decide. What do you think that is? Those little green pieces, or the purple and green pieces. I think they're very pretty. But I'm going to keep going in at an angle. You don't want to go straight in with these picks anyway, because it'll go all the way through that foam and into the hat, and it's kind of hard to push it through your fabric, and then you have stuff that may fall out. You put it in sideways, it kind of locks it into place a little better. And these Temu picks that I'm using, these black ones, this is not a sponsored video, y'all know that. But they have like little serrated edges you can see over there in the right corner. So when you push them through, the wire part pushes through, that actually holds it into the foam, which is very nice. All right, so now that we've got the bottom or the hat band done, we're going to start adding to the top of the hat. I don't want anything to be taller than the top of the hat. You see how I've got that little curl in the top, how I shaped it by hand, because it already had a piece of wire in there, and I thought, oh, we're going to go with this. I love that. It's a nice piece. It's a nice focal point, and we're going to do something special with that. So, you know. So you can see what I'm doing here. You know, I like to do it from above, like I mentioned with the other arrangement, and then I'm going to show you from time to time the progress that we're making. I'll lift up the hat and show you what we got going on here. I love that there is a huge variety. It just looks like wildflowers, like it would be in a garden. You know, like some of these could be herbs, and just, I love it. I love the fact that these cone flowers look mysterious and magical. And then, of course, we're going to be adding some of these picks too. There's actually 3 of these picks with the purple and the black. So we're going to add those in different places. You can cut these picks apart and really stretch them out if you want to as well. You can wind your flowers through it and, you know, give it a little more dimension, and you can see me doing that there. I'm just kind of weaving it in and out of the things that are around it. Again, make this your own. Do what is going to bring you joy. If you don't like this color theme, say maybe you just cannot stand purple, or you think the blue looks ridiculous, you know what? You don't have to even tell me. Just go ahead and use something different. You could use orange and black. You could do candy corn. You could do those colors if you wanted to. You can do it in gold and red. You know, you do what makes you happy, and it's going to be the right thing for you, right? It's all about crafting and getting that joy from it and feeling that sense of accomplishment. You did it yourself. You did it on your own, and you love it exactly how it is. Always want to encourage y'all to do that. That's so important. Again, the greenery has that bluish tone or the cool tone, which I like with this. I like it a lot. And let's just say, okay, if this looks spring or summery to you, then just look at it this way. Witches are magical, right? If they want to have their springtime greenery in the fall, they can have their springtime greenery in the fall, right? They got green thumbs. They have a little herb garden in their house. They have little English gardens in their yard, or witchy gardens in their yard, and they're growing their own stuff. So, and heck, they have magic. They can grow anything they want whenever they want, right? That's right. I love how this breaks it up a little bit, and I love how it gives it another element of softness, and it just looks magical to me, y'all. It's just magical to me. And I really hope that you like this one as well. I used to really enjoy doing the wreath forms from Dollar Tree, but the 3-dimensional stuff is so much more fun for me. personally. I still have videos that have those other forms, and if I feel the inspiration, I'll definitely make more with those forms because I do have some here. But right now, I'm really loving these hats. Really, really loving these dimensional hats. What a beautiful centerpiece this would be. Okay, so these are on wire too, so I can just pierce them straight down into that little foam hat band that we made, or you can use a little hot glue if you want to cut them into pieces. You've seen me do it both ways here. Look at this. And you know, one of the best parts is I'm using up materials that I had left over from spring and summer in this hat. I don't want to waste anything. I save stuff, I can use it for something else. But look how pretty this is. I really like this. I hope you like it as much as me because I really like it. Now these little rings that I told y'all was my favorite little Dollar Tree Halloween item, I cut the ring off the back and I'm going to find a way to attach this to this hat tip. And I decided I'm going to use a pin, just a sewing needle. I'm going to add some hot glue, stick it on the back. I'm going to add hot glue to the pokey part or the needle part. Carefully stick it into the end of the hat. Let that set up for a minute. And once it is dry, look! Looks like a little silver string hanging down, like he's just hanging by a little string. Oh, I love it. We're going to need some of these witch boots and the hat and some felt from Dollar Tree for the first two projects. Take your tags off and remove any extra. The first project is the witch's boots. So we're going to give these little witch's boots up here a makeover. We're going to start off by taking a roll of black felt and cut it into strips, about, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 inch strips. These don't have to be perfect. Just cut them apart so you can manage them. You can see the shape under here is really nice, and I don't want to pull off the tinsel because it helps hold the shape. I'm going to start by rolling that little piece in half so that I have a nice clean edge for the heel of the boot. Just rolling it over to see how I wrap it around. I'm going to add some glue here. And then take the folded edge downward and press it down. Now, I was all over the place in this video, y'all, so bear with me. I'm going to show you and explain to you as much as I can to make up for my lack of paying attention to the camera. Okay, so now we're going to wrap, just like you're wrapping a bandage. You want it to overlap, and then you can wrap it around the top of the boot to hold it in place like that. Now the heel is wrapped and we've got it secured to the upper part of the boot. Now you can just start wrapping it around. You don't have to leave it folded, you can unfold it. This is not precise at all. And you're just going to start going around the boot. Now with this felt, it's a little bit stretchy, so you can tug on it a little bit and put a little pressure on it, and it will give a little bit. So just continue around as you go, all the way up to the, I guess, the calf part of the boot, and cover up all that tinsel. We're going to let it overlap on the top about 3/4, probably 3/4 of an inch, I would guess. I'm going to cut off what we don't need, hot glue it down, and then you can take a little bit of hot glue and fold the edge under. This will give you a nice clean edge on the boot, and it's going to help cover up some of that tinsel, kind of trap it down in there between the layers so that you don't see it. And don't worry about the inside of the boot. We're just going to leave it like that for now. So far this is what we have. Now I have a little area here that is not wrapped, so I'm just going to take another strip and I'm going to tuck it in using my little stick here. Just tuck it in there, And then you can add a little bit of hot glue if you want to, but you really don't need it. And then just continue to wrap. I kind of hit it under there, and I was able to get that little strange area that was hard to reach in my first go around. And you can go around this as many times as you want to till you get the look that you like and the coverage that you like. Again, if you pull, you can see that I'm pulling a little bit. You can kind of extend the amount of felt that you have because it will stretch, and it nicely helps cling to itself, which, you know, is good because it's easier to work with that way. And look at the shape already. It's already looking so much better. Alright, now I'm going to start on the bottom just because I like my seams to be in the back and the bottom and kind of in hidden areas. And I'm going to wrap around this boot down toward the toe. Pulling in a little bit, it's kind of laying onto the shape of the boot pretty nicely. And I actually, this was quite an experience for me because I've never done the little boots before, but it was kind of fun. The transformation is so worth it too. Really it is. You gotta wrap around the curl of that toe, that little pointy area, and then any way you can get that to go down on there, just wrap it around that way. You want to keep that little hooked shape, that little curl there, you want to keep it that way. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of pulling it, and it's in different directions, but it is pressing down that tinsel and making that little toe stick up perfectly. Well, the toe of the boot, obviously. I don't know, maybe a witch does have a curly toe. Who knows what's under those boots? But I'm just going to use a little hot glue and then kind of form it with my fingers. And look how gorgeous, y'all. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I love this. You could do this with burlap if you wanted to. You know, if you wanted a more rustic look. But for Halloween, I'm going to keep it all black for witchy. Okay, now we're going to make a platform for that. So I'm just going to use some paper that coordinates, some paper that I like, and it actually came out of a Halloween paper pack that was gifted to me from a friend. So thank you, Marcia, if you're watching. Then I'm going to cut it down so that it fits my board. Gonna paint on the back. It's all spray painted. And then I'm just going to place it down on here. I'm going to pat it down with my hands, and then I will use a little tool here to help make sure that I have no bubbles and wrinkles. If you don't have spray paint, that's fine. You can just use a regular paint that you like, and I went with slate because it matches better with this dark gray background, but you could certainly use black or whatever you have. You can see it's a dark gray color. Matches well though. Then what you don't see is me taking a little antiquing wax on my finger and going around the edges because I actually sanded that down to make it nice and smooth. Okay, y'all, if I would have left everything in this video, this would have been an hour-long video at least. Alright, so now I'm just prepping my decorations or my embellishments for these beautiful boots because she's fancy like that. You can put your trim wherever you want. I like this burlap polka dot ribbon, and I'm going to use it to go around the top part of the boot. So I'm going to give myself about 1 inch of an overlap there, and then I'm going to start going around. Now I'm only going to go, you'll see here how I'm going to make it actually fit the curve of the boot. I'm only going to go around the top with the glue until we get all the way around. So what you see me doing is just going around that top edge, or what you don't see me doing, either way, you can imagine. There we are. There it is. Okay, you're just going to keep going around like that, and then when you get it back to its original spot, press everything down and protect your fingers. I didn't do it this day, but I should have. And then look, I'm going to kind of make a little pleat here so that it goes up at an angle. Doing this is going to make the bottom edge of that ribbon lay flat on the boot. And to me, it just looks more like, it just looks better. It looks like it follows the shape of the boot as opposed to the boot beforehand. If you don't do this little pleat or this little tuck or whatever you want to call this, then it will be standing away from the boot. And that's okay too if you want it to look like it's kind of folded over, but it kind of reminded me of a Santa boot, and that's not the look I'm going for our little witch here. No. Alright, look how cute! These are so cute. Okay, so now on this part, I am going to put some of the beautiful purple flowers on it because purple and black is what I'm going for in this video. And then I'm just going to take another scrap. You see how you can just stretch that? And I'm just going to ball it up and then stick it down in the top of each boot. If you wanted to use your boots, you want to leave them open, you could put flowers in the top if you wanted to, if you didn't want to put the flower on the side, however you want to do it. Okay, have you ever seen Poshmark? You know how you have to set everything up and look it so pretty and beautiful, and I know people do it on Instagram too. So maybe this witch is a designer and she wants to sell her boots, her fancy handcrafted boots. So she's got to make them look pretty. So she's going to put them on a platform and she's going to stage those boots so that she will be the envy of town and everybody will want her designs. Press it down, let it dry, and then look at it. Look how those boots are posed. If you're liking these fancy boots, please give me a thumbs up. It helps my channel and it makes me love you even more. Okay, let's take some of those spider rings that I cut the backs off of, and we're going to embellish with those. I don't want to put a buckle back on this boot, but I think the spiders look amazing. Amethyst spiders. Oh, I love it. All right, so the next project is going to be a witch hat. We're going to have her hat to match her boots. So we're going to go back to felt here, grab you some felt. I've laid my hat upside down on it, and I am working on the back side of the frame. Again, leaving the tinsel on, it gives it a little more body, and you're not going to see any of that afterwards. So I'm just going to cut where I need, and I'm going to twist around where I need to twist around. I'm going to cut little darts there in the side so that I can wrap around the little edges of the brim of the hat because they have a little curve. I want them to keep that curve, so I'm going to get them out of the way, and then I'll fix it, make it look a little bit better in a little bit. But for this part, we're just going to start working on the tall part of the hat. I'm going to add some hot glue on the frame and then just pull it over. You can glue and trim as you go. You do not have to cover this entire back, but I'm going to show you how you can do it if you want it to look nice and neat. Because you can leave this actual wreath like this, or you can do the second step, which I will show you in just a minute. So be sure you stay tuned so you can see what else you can do to give it a little more dimension. Okay, so you just want to finish this back off, and like I said before a couple of times, you can pull on this felt and it's a little stretchy, it has a little give. So continuing around, I'm going to trim off what I don't need. Just a little on that side that's extra, that's just getting in the way. And what's on this side, I'm just going to kind of roll under. It gives it a little more thickness, and I like that. Then I can just roll it instead of cutting it and go right over to the edge that we've already glued down. And see how it's nice and flat on the back? I like that. And by the way, I don't mind that the little bumps are showing. Those little bumped areas on the sides are where the tinsel is attached down to the frame. That's how they make these wreaths at Dollar Tree. So again, trimming off. I don't want anything too bulky on the end because I want to keep the taper on the end of the hat. That's one thing that I think is so cute in a witch's hat, is that point. And since this one has a curve in it, I want to make sure that the little curve is a natural, nice taper going downward, not with a big gap in the middle. But if it does happen to you, I'm going to show you how to fix that as well. So we're going to keep going down here. Now, everything is fixed on the back part of it, and we're going to work on the curved part of the hat. I am just going to pinch it and then glue it down. I'm going to pinch it and roll it and then glue it down until you get a nice point on it. I wanted to leave this in here so you could see exactly how to do this, because in some of the last parts of what we're making, embellishing this, it's really important that we have a nice crisp point on the end. So keep watching so you can see what to do. Okay, this is it so far. You see I got my little points right. Same way I did on the top of the hat is how I did the little ones on the bottom. But you see on the top it has a little gap. We're going to fix that. So I'm pulling a thicker piece of this. So you're probably going to need 2 rolls of felt. Yeah, you're going to need 2 rolls. I think I just said a roll, but go ahead and grab 2. And then I'm going to start twisting this like I did on the boots. I'm going to glue it on the back side on the bottom, and then just start working my way around, because we're going to put something on the bottom of this hat. You're not going to see where it starts the fold. So I'm going to begin to twist, and I am going to leave some wrinkles and dimples in the fabric as I go along. This is the part where I'm saying you could leave it and not wrap this part on there, or for additional interest, I would think, for me, you're just gonna go ahead and wrap another piece on top of it. You're gonna squeeze it, you're gonna flip it, you're gonna leave some wrinkles in it, you're gonna make some little gathers. You see here how there's little areas that are kind of gathered, and you're gonna make sure that if you do like a pleat or a gather, that you do most of it to the right side, because you're going to be curving to the right. So we're going to keep going to the right. Flip it up, and you want it to get more and more narrow as you go toward the top. See, I'm going to continue here, going to go around, grab a little pleat. There, I've pleated it again, and continue around. But you see, the tip looks weird on my hat. There's a gap between the end of the wreath body that's under there, and then the additional length that I added by putting on the felt to the end of it, because I wanted it to be a little bit longer. We're going to fix that. You can either fix it at this point, which I did not do. I don't know what I was thinking when I did this part of it, but I couldn't quite get the angle right, so I went ahead and glued it down. And then I'm going to take another piece of fabric. Now this one, the piece of fabric that I'm going to use next is a square that I cut, and then I folded the square in half to make it look like a triangle. So it's a doubled triangle, okay? So that's what you're looking at here. I'm going to put it underneath and then kind of sandwich it or wrap it around. Now I'm gluing it on the back side, not on the front. Remember, we want it nice and neat on the front. Put all of your hard work on the back. In just a minute, you'll get to see what that looks like. Now we're going to do a little swag or some decoration for the front or the brim of that beautiful witch's hat that we have created. I've got thrifted and Dollar Tree pieces. Look at these beautiful purple leaves from Dollar Tree. Now on my camera, from my angle, it looks like it's coming off the flowers and the greenery is a little on the bluish side, but they're beautiful purple. So these are thrifted, these little pieces of, I believe that's eucalyptus, maybe. They're thrifted, but you can get something glittery or similar to it, you know, at Dollar Tree. Whatever you choose to put here. Here's the beautiful purple flowers and this kind of a two-tone purple flower. I love that it has the little cone in the center of it. It just, I don't know, it just looks witchy to me. Look at this. This is called Farmhouse Witch Hazel. I was able to find out of 12 stores about 3 picks in different colors. But isn't it gorgeous in this arrangement? I also used some on a pumpkin that I did recently for fall. That turned out really pretty. So I'm going to take a zip tie, or you can use a pipe cleaner, whatever you have here. Zip tie is going to hold it nice and tight, and it makes it easy so you don't have to keep picking it up and putting it down. You're going to cinch it all the way to in the middle, clip off the excess, and then I'm just kind of, you know, fluffing. I fluff my arrangements like I fluff my bows here. And then I have these little, they look like little, I don't know, like a little berry. I don't know what these are. But again, they look kind of spiky and they look kind of witchy to me, so I thought they were nice in here. And I think it's going to fit nice right across the bottom. So now we're going to work on the ribbon. And the ribbon is purple, although it looks kind of blue. That velvet ribbon comes in a 3-foot roll, so I went ahead and cut each of these 2 into 3-foot pieces as well. And then I'm just going to cinch it up. These are all wired in the middle. And don't worry, if you didn't catch that, I'm going to let you see on the other 2 strips of ribbon exactly what I do again. I'm just going to clip that off. Then I'm going to take another piece and this one's going to be in the center. Cross it over itself, pinch it up in the middle. This is really good quality for a Dollar Tree ribbon. Really, really good quality. I'm going to take the next one, and it's sheer with spider webs, and the other one is black with white spider webs. I'm going to pinch that one up in the middle too. And grab up the rest of my ribbon. Just stack them all on top of each other, and these are all roughly the same size. Now, using my pipe cleaner, I'm going to twist it around the middle. I'm going to use a pipe cleaner this time because I'm going to need something to attach this down to the little swag that we made. And I'm going to do it very tightly because I have to fluff this bow, so I am pushing down and twisting over the little chenille stem. I'm going to trim up a little bit on these edges or the ends of the ribbon. To me, this is an important part of making your bows, and I'm not going to do it fast. I'm going to show you what it looks like, that it does take me some time to do things too. I don't have superpowers. Well, through the power of editing, I have superpowers, but I don't have any personally. So you're going to trim this off. You could also do a dovetail if you like the way that that looks. And I'm going to just continue to move my ribbons around and move my bow pieces around so that I can fluff it out and make it look beautiful. Now they're all about the same length, and that's a good working length because once you get it down, then you can trim it up if you want to trim it up more. There I am fluffing. Love my fluffing. And you can move those now. You've got them very tightly into that pipe cleaner. You can move them in any angle you like. To attach it down, I'm just going to flip my little greenery swag over on top of the back of my bow, and I'm going to tightly twist them together. You can leave it on or you can cut it off. It doesn't matter, whichever way you want to do it. And then I'm going to prepare to put it down. Look how pretty this is. I love it. So as I was fluffing, I noticed that for the size of my hat, I had a little too much going on down here. Just too much length in the ribbon. So I decided to cut a couple of pieces to look more like little flyaways and make it a little more, I don't know, to make the size a little bit better, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm going to take a little piece of, this is like a cotton cord, and I have it threaded through an upholstery needle. I'm going to go through the back of the hat over as part of the plastic edge of it, I guess you could say. And then I'm going to go through the back of my arrangement, right up through the middle, and then go underneath it. And then you can wrap it a few times if you want to, but mine held into place fine right here. And then I'm just going to tie this off in the back with a couple of knots to hold it in place. When you flip it back over, if you need a little more support, and it wouldn't be surprising with a bow that size to need more support, just add some hot glue and then press it into place and hold it there for a minute. Give it a little time to dry, and then you'll be good to go. Then you can do all of that extra little fluffing that you like to do. Alright, so I'm going to make something for the top. Now you see the taper is perfect. It's exactly how I wanted it. I'm going to start making a little, it's like a little, I don't know what you would call this. It's like a little mini greenery piece, I guess. I'm going to use some black leaves and one of my purple leaves, one of these beautiful witch hazels with the little curl on it, and then I'm going to glue a little berry in the middle. With a piece of wire, I'm going to glue it right to the tip, let that dry, and then I'm going to glue it down on the leaf so that there's a little gap in between. And look, y'all, once the glue cools, of course, look at this. It can move! I forgot to show you, but I did actually put a spider on there that you will see in the end screen of the video, so be sure that you stay to the very end. To hang this, I'm just going to use another piece of my pipe cleaners, and I'm just going to glue it right down on the back of the hat, and then you can hang it up from there once it's cool. Here are the little boots. Now, if it bothers you that you have a little extra hot glue in places like you can see on the toe of this boot, just go back over it with a permanent marker or some black flat paint and you won't be able to notice it. It'll just blend right on in there together. Here's our hat, and let me show you what this looks like. This is so cute. Look, it looks like the spider is suspended from there. Have a lot of fun here. Share the video with other people who you think might enjoy this type of content, and doing that also lets YouTube know that I'm working hard and I'm making content that's not just the same old, but that I'm bringing you something with some value and that you enjoyed it. And YouTube wants you to enjoy being here. I believe in you and I know that you can do these projects. I know you can. And these are easy to find materials to do them with. The first will be a purple autumn broom. We'll start out with some florals that I got from Dollar Tree. Beautiful shades of purple and blue. And this is a little thrifted pick. This one I got at Dirt Cheap. Just a little pine cone pick. And these are also from Dollar Tree. You can get these in a bunch of different shades, so if purple's not your color, grab what you like. You can use zip ties, jute, or floral wire. And then I have a broom that I thrifted. You can pretty much find these in the fall just about anywhere. All right, so I'm just going to kind of fluff it a little bit. Sometimes they're loose, you know, from the end. So all you have to do, because they're tied together, is just kind of finagle them around a little bit and push them back through the fabric or the little jute pieces that hold them together. So I want my pieces to be sort of hanging down, and the idea with this, I believe this is amaranthus, is to kind of make this broom a little bit wider. It is tied very tightly, so you're going to have to kind of play around with it to get it to push up into there. In my experience with doing brooms, and I have done a couple in the past on my channel, they will stay in place for normal wear, like if you were to keep it inside of your home. Obviously, if you're selling it or you are going to be putting it outside in a covered area, you're going to want to use some very strong glue that will not break down in the weather. But for this one, I mainly just poke the pieces in, but I will show you on the next one how you can glue the pieces down. So I'm going to be adding these here and there. I love that these drop down anyway, that they're kind of that hangy look, and they look, you know, kind of spooky, yet still beautiful and mysterious. So I think that's perfect. Did you know, by the way, that witches' brooms, they actually signify sweeping away negative energy? So I think that that's awesome. You put the florals in there and you put all these wonderful things that smell good and have good vibes and good meaning. You sweep away the negativity and bring positivity into your life. I think that's great. And people have asked me before, am I a witch? No, I do not identify as witch or Wiccan or any of that, but I love everything that is mystical. I'm very open-minded, and I love the idea of magic in our world. All right, so this is a really thick stem. It's not going to fit up in the tightness there of all of those little sticks and branches. So I'm just going to attach it down here with some floral wire. I'm going to put it nice and tight all around there, and then later on I will cut the end of that stem off level with the jute that is wrapped around there, so you don't really see it. So far, so good. I have seen a variety of floral brooms. If you go to Pinterest, you can see just a huge amount over there that people have made in a variety of ways and colors, and some people like to have their flowers more down into the bottom of the broom, but I'm going to focus mine more up toward the top of the sweeping part. All right, so we're going to move on to the flowers now. we're going to put a little bend in there so that the flowers, rather than facing up or straight down, are facing outward. I want to focus most of it up there above where we have our little hanging pieces. So maybe between the end of the broom and the first tie, I guess is where it would be. The thickness up there is well, I think what I want to say is the branchy part is tighter there, and it's easier for you to poke these thinner pieces into and really hold them into place. And plus, I like the idea of kind of widening it out, giving it more of a triangular look. So that's what I am kind of going for here. You're gonna have some fallout now, I'm gonna tell you that. It's a broom, this happens. There's definitely some fallout. But you can just wipe it off. Just wipe it off your table, not a big deal. I'm not afraid of dirt, I really am not, so you gotta embrace some of that when you're a crafter, right? Especially when you're working with natural elements. So you see how this little cosmos is just kind of squished? Go ahead and grab a heating tool, a blow dryer, and then you can just keep it moving though. You don't want to melt anything. You can just fluff it right back out. Look at that, look how pretty. And be sure that you spin those around so that you have each of your rows of fabric showing better. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, in the next project that we do, I'll give you a closer example and look of what I'm talking about. You really want to take advantage of the flowers that you get from Dollar Tree because they need a little bit of work, but the coloring and they're really making improvements in the florals, and I see it all the time when I go in there. From season to season, they're so much better. Because look at this already. Look how beautiful, and those are only Dollar Tree florals. I think that's pretty amazing. And if you're loving the budget-friendly thing, you're on a budget, you need to be careful about what you spend and where. This is a fantastic way to do it. Get your florals from the thrift store. Get them from Dollar Tree. Recycle them. Take them out of another project that you've done that maybe isn't your thing anymore. Just pick those out and use them again. I have done that billions of times. Yes, I would say billions. That's pretty close to it. I've been doing this for over 3 years now, so there's been a lot of things taken apart and reused. All right, so we've added just a few of the little red ones in there, and then I'm going to add the rest of these smaller purple ones here and there. She's going to get a little fluff before she goes in there. And I always try to pick the best ones. I've noticed sometimes when I'm using florals from Dollar Tree, they'll have like a little track in them or a little skip, and I just sort of avoid those or turn them where that petal is downward. Now, if you have any doubts, you can add a little glue there. These stems were short and they didn't get as much depth in there, so I'm just going to give them a little dot of glue here and there just to hold those in. This beautiful velvet ribbon came from Dollar Tree. I'll use 2 rolls of these. They're only 3 feet. So I knew that I wanted some long tails on my ribbon, so we're going to make double tails. I'm going to use the first roll just to make the bottom layer or the longer layer of the tails. Look at all that fallout on my table. What a mess. Just to sweep it right down into the trash can. That's all you got to do. So I am going to dovetail mine, but you can do a slant. I think there's something really beautiful, elegant, and mystical about the velvet. It's like a faux crushed velvet or velour, I guess. But it's really pretty. It's only on one side of the ribbon, but the way we're making this bow, you won't even see the inside of the ribbon. You shouldn't be able to see it. So then I'll use the other roll to make just a simple bow here. Very easy. And then I'm just using a little leftover piece of pipe cleaner. And you could use pipe cleaner as well to attach things down to your wreaths and to your arrangements. Got a lot of options. Then I'll fluff a little bit and add this right over the other one. I can use that little piece of pipe cleaner, it's got wire on it, and just poke it down into the broom handle area and then add a little glue and it'll stay in place. Now, if you don't like bows, by all means leave the bow off of yours. We want to make it our own, right? Absolutely, make it your own. Just putting a little bend in the ribbons to give them a little movement and interest. You can do this, or you can curl them, or you can leave off the bow. Whatever you choose. Right in the middle, I will put my last cosmos, and I think that will do it. The broom already has a hanger. I made sure when I laid it down to orient that hanging piece to the back. And she is ready to go. All right, so the next one is our festive orange broom. I'm going to use some deco mesh from Dollar Tree. Whatever you want to use to attach your pieces together. These beautiful black-eyed Susans in orange. So pretty. Some of these black and glittery leaves from Dollar Tree. Some of these little pieces of willow. These are like an orange or coppery color. And then another one of those brooms. A thrift store find indeed. Nobody ever picks these up. Except me, of course. All right. Now I'm going to start with these. And I'm going to place them here and there all over the bottom of this broom. You're going to see me move some stuff. I am leaving all of that in because I want you to see that editing makes a difference when you make a video, and some people edit out all the struggle, and I don't think I want to do that in my videos because I want you to see that, you know, even experienced crafters, even YouTubers, we sometimes make mistakes and we sometimes struggle and we have to undo things and redo them. So we're not perfect, and you should not expect yourself to be either, right? That's right. Now I'll take one and put right in the top, a little flare, if you will, right there, into that first little tied section over where you sweep. We're going to flatten out these leaves too, because if you notice, the pick is very bunched right now. In a minute, you're going to see what it looks like when you get it all ironed out. We're just going to call it ironing because it really does make them flat and pretty. Keep your heating tool moving though, but look at the difference. Those are nice. I'm going to cut those off into individual pieces, leaving one on the original stem so that it's a longer piece. And then I'm going to put that longer piece in here to be the center. Yes, perfect. I do this pretty often. When I'm cutting picks apart, I like to leave one on a long piece if I know that I have a larger piece that I'm working with. You can always cut it off later if you don't need it, right? But it's a lot more difficult to put it back. All right, so I'm going to keep putting these down. Now, I know the glitter is a lot for some people, and that's totally fine. If you don't like glitter, take this inspiration and use something different. But I thought for a Halloween party or a Halloween theme, maybe Halloween night when the trick-or-treaters are coming, that they would really enjoy this beautiful pop of orange and black on your door. Wishing you a happy and safe Halloween and trick-or-treating experience, right? That's right. No negativity at all, only goodness on Halloween night for the kiddos. I'm going to add one here, a little bit off to the side. I like that. Everything does not have to be perfectly symmetrical. We're going to put a bend in these flowers, the same as we did the other ones, so that rather than facing up and away from each other, they are facing outward for the people who are going to be seeing them. Even if it's just for you in your own home, if it brings you joy, do it. All right, now I'm going to just work around, and you will see me using the glue gun a little bit more here. Sometimes when I put the flowers in, they're actually still in the wet glue from the other piece. So I'll put the floral in right into the glue of the other piece. So you won't see everyone being glued down. Now, did you see what I did there with the petals on the flower? They're actually in there in 2 layers. They're often in 2, 3 layers, but from Dollar Tree, it's mainly 2 from my experience. You just want to take that in your hand and then twist the little petals around so that it opens the flower up and you can see all of them, rather than having both layers sitting on top of each other and your flower looks kind of sad and thin. You want to fluff it out to make it look its absolute best. See what I mean here? You twist it and look at the difference that makes. Automatically, very quickly, makes a huge difference. So the ones with the longer stems we're going to put on the bottom so that they can reach up into the thick part. Spin it around again, and they'll stay locked in place better. always fluffing my bows, my greenery, my florals, so they look their best. Just like when you're ready to go out and do something and meet with people, you want to look your best. So you're gonna put your earrings on, you're gonna fix your hair, put your makeup on, make sure everything looks nice. All right, so for this, we're actually going to do a little bundle of these rather than doing a bow. So this is another option for you. And again, if you don't like something like this, you do not have to do it, but this is so easy. We're just going to make little rolls. Roll, roll, roll. And it's already trying to roll back on itself because that's how it comes when you buy it, right? It's all rolled together. But I want to tighten the roll up just a little. So I'm going to do 3 pieces and put a clip on them just to hold them in place while we move on to the next one. Roll, 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 roll. The bigger you allow that roll to be, the bigger your bow or your little bundle will be. So if you get them real tight, they're going to be small. You make them about the diameter of 1/4 or better, then they're going to be bigger. I'm just going to use jute here to tie these 3 together. And I'll leave my string long so that I can use that to tie it onto the broom. And look how pretty that is when you get it all fluffed out. Make sure that your edges are toward the back so you don't see all that stuff. And we're just going to put it right on the top above where we put that first black leaf, over the top of the willow branch that we put down on the top. So just give it a good double knot or triple knot, and then you can also add a touch of hot glue back there to keep it in place if you're concerned, or you can do that with wire or zip tie, whatever you like. This is how this one is looking so far. I think it is very pretty and festive. Now I thought, why don't we hang this like somebody, sort of gonna look like somebody would be wearing a guitar. You know how you kind of have it slung across your body? So I thought, well, why don't we have this broom in the position that maybe the broom is flying? So I chose to use jute for this. You could use a ribbon, or you can just use the original hanger and have it hung straight up and down. You could certainly do that. But this is pretty too. And I always want to give you options, right? So to give it a little more support is where I can tie it. I started off with one of these little dowel rods. If you use a dowel rod that is thicker, it's going to serve you better. It's going to do better because I had to actually put 2 together to hold the weight so that this would not lean forward. And I'm just putting some glue on here and pushing this up into the substantial area here. You can see where there's little green pieces poking out from my stems. I'll cut those off to clean that up. Want to make everything look pretty. Then I'll decide how long I want that hanging piece to be. And then I'll start wrapping and tying around the end of this piece. I'm going to wrap, 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 and then loop it around the cord there, and then wrap, wrap, wrap some more, loop it around, wrap, wrap, wrap. Add some hot glue to keep it from sliding on that stick. And then when I held it up, it still wanted to kind of go forward. So I went ahead and added a second one to it and just zip tied those 2 together. Just a little time saver. But like I said, use a bigger diameter of a dowel there and it's going to do better for you. And then now I can definitely hang it at an angle like that rather than having it straight up and down. The next is going to be a purple mini broom. This is for y'all if you don't have a big one, but you like the idea of doing this. So I've got a little Dollar Tree pumpkin, some ribbon from Dollar Tree, scraps of greenery that I keep, and then a couple of flowers. This one little pig of flowers from Dollar Tree. Very pretty. Smaller scale because we're using a smaller broom. And then some faux pine cones that I thrifted. These are fake. So this broom was very easily made from Dollar Tree. You can get this little sweeping section and a stick, and then push the stick down in there, use some hot glue, and hold it together. That's easy. And this one smells like eucalyptus. It is so yummy. They have cinnamon and eucalyptus at my store. So you can find either one. They're not in the seasonal section. They're more over there where you get the rocks and the sand and the other pieces of branches, you know, the more natural elements. So I'm just showing you here that you can use a little hot glue and another pick if you don't have, you know, if you've just got little scraps but no stem, just use a stem from something else. I saved my little pieces of stem because for me they work great to use in other things, and it came in handy here. Some of them you can just pull right off the branch and you don't have to do anything extra. So I'm going to start by putting these little, it almost looks like an evergreen type piece, and I'm going to push it straight up. Same type of idea as we did with the other one, the other two brooms. But because this broom is small, this is actually going to be covered a little bit more. It's going to look more substantial. You'll see what I mean. Sometimes I know what I'm saying in my head, but it comes out of my lips totally different. I know you know what I mean. All right, so now I've got most of my greenery in, and I'm just going to put as much as I feel like I want to in there. You know, you keep going until your brain screams, hey, hold up. And some people tell me when they watch my videos that they would have stopped a long time ago. Well, that's totally okay. You're going to do what makes you happy, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. And you want to make it your own. You always want to make it your own. That's what's great about crafting in general. You can watch 75 YouTube creators who make things, but I guarantee you they're going to be different. You're going to see a different spin on everybody's channel. So I encourage you to go check out more YouTubers, you know, maybe somebody new that you haven't met yet, you haven't watched before, and go support them. I can tell you from experience, like I said, 3 years, it takes a lot of work to run a crafting channel when you do things on your own, and most of the people that I know do it all on their own. So give them some love, give them some support. Go to their channels after my video and tell these wonderful creative ladies that I sent you, and give them a chance to show you how creative that they are as well. Oh, so pretty. But you can see how all of these little branches are going to go all the way down to the bottom of the broom rather than just focused on the middle of the broom or the upper part of the section that sweeps. So just, you know, I'm kind of focusing this all over because it's really cute and I want it to really stand out despite the fact that it's a little broom. This could be a leaner somewhere. You could lean this up against your coffee station. How cute would that be? You can hang it off your rear view mirror in the car. You could give it as a gift. I would love it if somebody gave me something like this. Just imagine one of your friends is having a bad day. They're not, you know, their energy is low. They're not feeling great. They're having just trouble after trouble after trouble. How sweet would it be to give them a little broom like this and then explain to them why, you know, what these brooms represent? That you are wishing to sweep away any negativity and attract positivity into their life. And I think the sentiment is so sweet. I'm definitely going to be doing more of these through the year because I think they're precious and I love the meaning of it. And who doesn't love mystical and magical, y'all? Who doesn't? We all need that in our lives. Just because we're adults doesn't mean we have to grow completely up, right? Got to keep that childlike joy in our heart. And I wish that for all of y'all. All right, so what if you don't have fake pine cones? Then you can go to Dollar Tree and get a bag of theirs. They have very nice tiny pine cones. And you can use those so that you can have some natural elements in there. You could also use some dried flowers in here. If you had them, that would be very pretty. You know, the more natural the elements, probably the better. Well, we're going to do what we can with what we have. Not everybody has access to a park. Not everybody has a yard. Some people live in apartments or, facilities where they don't have access to things. So we're just going to use faux things, right? We'll just use the faux things. All right, so I'm going to make a little stem for this pumpkin. There's a name for it, but I cannot remember what it is. Do y'all know the name? What's the name of the stem for a pumpkin? Then I'm going to fashion some leaves out of some greenery that was already on that pick that we just used. And I'm going to do my best to make them look like leaves. Tiny, tiny, tiny little pieces here, but they're in scale with my pumpkin. I'm going to overlap them here, and then I'm going to put them right by the stem and sort of push them down into the little dent that I made, or the little opening that I made with the when I put the stem in there. It kind of lifts them up off of there. It gives them a nice little look. Then I am going to take another piece of the greenery branch I saved. I'm going to push it in at an angle, add a little glue. You got to be careful with foam and hot glue though, so just be super careful. I'm going to get rid of that spider web. And then I'm just going to push this down right here, sort of beside those pine cones. And I love it. It's so tiny and cute. What colors do you think you would choose if you did the little brooms? I like the purple and the orange for Halloween and fall. I think that those are fitting. I really enjoy those colors this year. All right, so we're going to make a little bow to go on here. Very easy from this ribbon. And I guess it's in a red packaging, so I suppose I got this maybe last year for Christmas. But I keep all of my ribbons together. So I just use them whenever I feel like I want to use that color. This to me looks like fall, or could be summer. Could use it any time of year, really, not just Christmas time. And then I'm going to decide where I want to put it, right above the pine cone and pumpkin there. And then a little glue will keep that in place. And when you're gluing things, be sure that you're actually gluing it onto something solid, not like a leaf that's just poking up, because it's going to fall right back off. And then I take another little piece of that greenery and go across the middle of the bow, just for a little extra something. But again, you don't have to keep adding. You can make yours very simple. You don't have to do it like me. This is simply for inspiration. And I hope that you like it. We are going to make a little tie for the top. And this is just a simple little tie for the top of it. I'm just going to tie one little knot, slip it over the end of the broom, and tighten it up. You can add a little hot glue so it doesn't slide anywhere. And then one more little tie at the top. Slide the knots together. Trim off any little excess frayed area, or you can leave it. And you can actually make a hanger out of the same that you made your bow with if you wanted to, some of that ribbon. Just cutting that off. And I'm just securing it to make sure it doesn't slide. It's not very heavy though, so it's not going to tend to pull downward and pull off, but just to be sure. And it's all ready to go. I would love this as a gift from somebody. Just me personally. I'm all about positive energy. a potion bottle. I'm going to start off with this beautiful bottle that inspired me to do this craft. So thank you very much to my son-in-law who gave me this. I'm going to use a little metal piece here. These were ordered from Temu. I'm going to use some mesh ribbon from Dollar Tree. These beautiful rose stickers from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use a sealer, some tools to scrape, and a heat tool to also help with removing the tags that are on there. All right, so it is all clean, washed. You can turn it upside down on a glass to drain it till it's dry. I'll take some heirloom white, spray that bottle, and I'm also going to spray this rose from Dollar Tree. Before we spray paint the bottle, we're going to sand it down. I'm going to just use a little sandpaper, and this just helps everything stick to that glass. Because if you've worked with glass before, you know that it's kind of slippery, and yeah, things won't cling to it. We're going to be using a lot of paint today. So champagne gold, some of this brushed silver, and worn penny. These kind of match what's going on in these flowers. Give you an idea. So I don't have a solid coverage on here, not important. I actually even got my fingerprints in there and had to patch that up. This is just going to be a base layer. So other things will stick on here better. We're going to be building this up and making it look aged and beautiful. So I'm going to take some of this mesh ribbon, and it probably doesn't really matter which color you choose. They have a variety of colors because we will be painting it. I just like this color, and this is what we're going to work with today. So I'm going to be putting this in a couple of sections and leaving a few parts of this bottle without any of this covering it. I love the texture, the webbing that it's going to give to this. It's going to give it a very old feel. So I at first thought I was going to leave the roses that are kind of raised up in that glass. I thought I was going to use that, but you'll see later I do something a little different. So just keep that in mind when you see me cutting this down. Now I cut this down to frame out those roses, but if you're using a bottle that doesn't have something like this that you want to highlight, just go ahead and wrap it around your bottle. I've chosen Mod Podge in the dishwasher formula for this project because it is very thick. It's like old school paste. Okay, so I'm just going to put this down, and it's so thick that it helps hold it in place. I started off using regular Mod Podge and it wasn't quite thick enough for this particular project. So once I get it down there, I'm going to just kind of really lay it on thick on there to make sure it goes down on all the little open spaces and to make sure every little piece of that mesh is glued down to the surface. I'm going to do the same thing for the area underneath where the roses are, but like I said before, if you're not using the same bottle or a similar bottle, just wrap the entire middle of it and you'll be fine. It's very easy with this Mod Podge and with the mesh to get that extra texture that you would need in a project like this. I looked on Pinterest for some inspiration on potion bottles, and I did get some ideas over there. So if you want to do something that's different from what I'm doing, go to Pinterest, check it out. There's lots of very crafty people over there who share their ideas freely for everyone to see. All right, so you see how the middle is open. I'm going to patch that with a little bit of extra mesh in just a moment. To keep things from slipping around in between as I lay these layers down, I'm going to take my heat tool, and you can use a blow dryer or a fan, whatever you have, to dry this a bit so that nothing is slipping around as I'm moving it and picking the bottle up. See how this is dried now? Pretty much dried. It's secure at any rate. I'll take that same mesh ribbon. I'm going to cut out probably 5 inches of that, fold it over on itself, and cut it like an oval. You open it up, you got a little oval patch there. And look, it just wants to stick to the bottle already, and it doesn't even have any glue on it yet. So I will put my Mod Podge down. You can put some underneath and you can put some on top. You could actually put that Mod Podge in a dish if you wanted to and dip it in there. And I'm just going to continue and make sure that I have it all blended together so it makes one well, it will appear as to be one piece all the way around. Kind of looks like spider webs. It kind of reminds me of Spanish moss that hangs on a tree, especially the green one that they have is really, really pretty. But we're going to be putting paint on here, so you're not going to see it necessarily. But if you didn't want to use dark paints like I'll be using, you can just, use this as inspiration to do it how you like it yourself. And this is how it looks. And then on the back, we're going to just close in the little space in the back as well with a little patch here. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. We do lots of budget-friendly DIYs over here. I try to make unique ideas to inspire you to make things your own. You see how easy this is? You get a better look here at what I'm doing. And don't worry about the sections where it looks a little bit pooled. It's fine. When it's all dried, it's just going to give you even more of that beautiful texture. Look at this. I let it dry overnight. Ugh, I'm obsessed. If you like this idea, I would love it if you could give me a thumbs up and share it with somebody else. Now, if you have any little pieces that are sticking out, and they will in this mesh, especially when you're working around curves, you can just take your scissors and trim those off. Or if you like that, you can leave it on there. It's a little extra texture. All right, so I'm going to grab my good old black chalk paint and paint the whole entire thing. I don't like to do the bottom because it's really hard to get that to dry in a speedy fashion. So I'm going to leave the bottom just the same color as it was from the spray paint. Nobody's going to be picking up that bottle and looking at it on the bottom if it's in my house. I assure you of that. But if you're planning on using something like this as a gift to give it away or to do it for sale, then you need to be sure that you complete your project all the way down and also put that black paint on the inside of the mouth of the bottle as well. We want it to be high end. We don't necessarily want it to look like somebody did it on the floor in their house. Right? Right. So, which there's nothing wrong with that. Believe me, when I started off crafting, I crafted on my floor. I sure did, in the floor of my bedroom. But now I have a studio in the basement, thanks to all of my subscribers and members. And now I have plenty of room to stretch out. And it has plenty of space for my hoard, because I love hoarding me some good old thrifted pieces. Okay. Now I'm going to take the top. It has a cork and like a wooden type lid on the top, and I want to give it a good coat of paint too. I took the price sticker off of there and cleaned it with alcohol, dried it off, and now I'm going to cover that in a little bit of that black chalk paint as well. You can use acrylic paint. I just love the flat look of the chalk paint and how everything sticks to it. Look at that. Don't be worried about the little spots where you can still see the paint through, because you will not see it when we get done. Here's a Tuscan red. This is a stunning, deep, almost like an ox blood red. It is beautiful. I'm going to be using that on this bottle. Now, don't be weirded out by the fact that I'm using this. This is not symbolizing blood. This is not symbolizing anything gory. Don't click off of my craft yet, y'all. Don't click away. This is going to be very pretty. You'll see soon what I'm doing with this bottle. There's a theme for it, so you'll see, but it is not something that is super scary, okay? This is a potion bottle, but it's a good thing, not a bad thing. So what I'm doing is basically lightly brushing this on, almost dry brushing in some spots. And you can see that I covered the middle with that red, because still at that time I thought I was going to use that as like a focal point. But if you've ever watched me craft, you know good and well, I start off in one direction and I get lost in the project. Intuition drives me in another direction, and so I just take that road, and I'm usually pretty darn satisfied with it. So I'm not going to give up at this point. I encourage you to keep going in your crafts, even when you look at it and go, oh my, what have I done? What have I done? Don't give up, just keep going. And it's just paint. You could always paint over it if you need to. And if you have a bottle that somebody gave to you, just go get another bottle. Throw it away and start over if you have to, but don't give up on yourself. Okay, if it brings you joy, that's exactly how it should be. Now, I'm going to go around all the areas that have that mesh with this red. The parts that are black, like the top of the bottle and the bottom section of the bottle, I'll just dry brush what's left on the brush down into that section. You can see me kind of pushing it down, and now I'm feathering it outward. Easy peasy. I'm going to dry between layers of my paints. Makes it easier for me to handle. Be careful if you are using a drying tool that you don't burn yourself. Just be very careful. You don't want to get there, especially if you've got one like this one, like a industrial strength. Keep your distance. Keep the distance from all of the stuff on your table and your table so you don't burn anything. You can see how it looks so far. It's just kind of dry brushed upward and outward from those other sections of mesh. I'm going to take the beautiful flowers that I have here, and I'm going to start adding some color to them as well. I'm going to take that beautiful Tuscan red and go over this. If you want to seal these first with a little bit of matte spray, you can do that, and it will help the paint to stick down on these kind of metallic looking flowers. I love these, and you know, if you're going to do something like this and you can't find these, you can do a different type of flower, or you can do any type of sticker that you like. I love that these are so textured and raised, and I think they're going to be just beautiful on this project. Now, all the little sections that are leaves, I'm going to paint first with some black chalk paint, and this is so that the green will stick to it. This is just like a little base coat. You could also do your flower this way, but that's not what I wanted to do. So, you know, again, I just kind of went with it. And then let it dry. Then I have this beautiful English ivy green, and I'll take a small brush and just start placing that down over the black. This is going to deepen the green, and it will stay down in the deeper sections of the leaf. I know it'll stay on the top. The black will be in the deeper section and give it some shadow. So I'll dry brush the cap just as well, the top. Same way we did, you know, pretty much the bottle and those open sections. I told y'all it's a lot of painting going on in here. But hey, Plaid has some wonderful options. They have Mod Podge, they have paint, they have acrylics, chalk paints, tools, anything you can think of. I'm very happy to be an ambassador in their program. Okay, so here is that. And these came from the Valentine section, if I didn't mention that. And I already had them in my Valentine box. I'm going to go on the inside here. This got a spray of that same paint that I used on the bottle. And I'm going to go in the deeper sections of it and just paint it black. For me, this just helps with a little bit of shadowing. And I'm going between the little sections here. This does not have to be perfect. It's going to be layers and layers of paint. This will help cover up your glitter. If you don't want to take the time of soaking this to get it off, which you can do, and if you want to do it that way, you certainly can. And then I'll let that dry. I'm going to seal in with my Mod Podge matte spray. Look at this thrifted paper I got. This is very thick and beautifully aged. So I'm going to take a piece of that. I'm going to take these little, they're almost like a calligraphy pen. They have a very long brush tip. And I am going to test out my colors. So I had a dark brown and then a black, and I'm going to choose the black. I like the look of that better. I don't want you to see the glare, so I'm covering this. Go to Pinterest, find an alphabet that you like, and then you can just copy down the words that you want to use in that same font. So we have an L. Can you guess what this potion bottle is? What do you think this is? You're going to just trace along. And what I'm doing is trying to get the basic shape of it that I'm seeing here. And then I'll go afterwards and make this, you know, my own. I'll thicken some areas, I'll shade some areas, I'll elongate some areas, and I'll add some of those cute little spider webs that you can see there on here as well. So if you guessed Love Potion number 9, you are very correct. So not only could this bottle be used at Halloween, but if you live that spooky life, you could use this for Valentine's Day. Y'all can see my videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. It is free. I'd love to see you in the comments. So you can see here, this is very easy. Now, if you don't want to use something, you don't want to use your own handwriting, which mine is scriggly, scratchy too, so don't worry about that. It's not perfect. It's supposed to look old and aged and crusty anyway, so we're going to go with my old crusty handwriting. But here's my love potion number 9. I tried to do the water technique here so I could tear it, but the paper is so thick that it would not tear. So I'm taking my scissors and just kind of wiggling the blades back and forth. Just be careful so you don't cut yourself. Get your fingers out of the way. And I'm going to wiggle back and forth to cut this. Now, this is not going to be a tag that hangs off the bottle. It's going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be on there. I'll continue around and just kind of, you know, squiggly cut. You can get those scissors that have the blades with the little, they're kind of serrated, and you could certainly do that if you wanted to. I'm going to take this beautiful label that we have here. I'll take a little bit of water, a little bit of this antiquing wax, and then I'll go over the project around all of my little edges, kind of brushing it around so that the bottom and the top have sort of the same finish. Now, this paper naturally had a darker edge up there where you can see the word love, and I like the look of that, so I'm going to try to replicate that as close as possible down here on the bottom. And it kind of accentuates the little, I guess you could say, tear marks, or they're actual cut marks, but you know, aged whatever marks. You get what I'm saying. I'm going to go around there and do that on the top and the bottom to try to get it fairly equal. Okay, so we're going to set that aside and let it dry. And I'll take these roses. They're going to need another coat of paint, so don't be disturbed by the fact that they don't match yet. I'll grab that same Mod Podge, and I'm going to put it in the center of the flower. I'm just using a sponge brush here. Sorry about that. Blah, blah, blah. And I am going to add hot glue around the outside. Now, they have a strong adhesive, but they're not going to stay down on this surface unless you do something stronger. If you want to use E6000 rather than using hot glue, that's probably the best option. But to get this video out for you guys, I'm going to do this in a way that is more timely so that everybody can see it. All right, I'm pressing it, pressing it, pressing it. You can see how long I'm holding it. And it will grab underneath on the layers of that mesh that we put on there, which I absolutely love because there's no way this would stick to a glass bottle otherwise. Well, it might, but it's going to take a lot of work. Now I'll do the same thing. I'm trying to center it in the middle. I don't want to put it too gloppy because when you press it down, it will ooze out from underneath. So I don't want to do that, but I do want to have enough in there that it will stay in there for a long time. And I feel like with this formula of Mod Podge, it's going to stay exactly where we want it. I'm going to put this almost in a swag across the bottle. You kind of get the idea here. You kind of see how it's going to go. We'll put the next one up here. And it's the exact same process. If you don't like roses and maybe you're not doing love potion, or maybe you are doing love potion and you want to use hearts instead, you can certainly do that. But I love the sort of the Victorian and the romantic side of this. And it's also got that goth look. It's just, it's elegant. I think in the end, it's so beautiful. And yeah, so I hope you do stick around to the end so you can see how this looks. Okay, so you can bend these. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but you can kind of bend them a little bit, and that's going to help you get that curve. Also, cutting into them in a couple of inconspicuous places, maybe where there's already an indentation, will help to lay that down over the curve so that it doesn't try to pull back up once you have it glued down. I'm going to press it down and hold it in place. I showed you the whole process of that because I want you to understand how important it is to hold that down until that that hot glue or your super glue has a chance to dry. I'm going to put another one up here on the bottle, but because the swag's in the other direction, I'm going to add it on the top on the other side. Same process, and I did take a little cut there so that it's a little long, and I want to make sure it fit between the lip and the curve of the bottle, where the neck goes down into the curve of the bottle. Now, if you want to leave your glue strings in there, you can. As extra texture, it's not going to hurt anything for sure. So the same brush that I had some black on from the leaves, I'm using that same brush in the red, and I'm going back over my roses here. And it's going to make this look like more like part of the bottle. Look how beautiful, because the black comes out and the red comes out, and it gives shading on the side, and it's just, ugh. I know y'all are tired of hearing me talk about the color, but it's so pretty. Okay. I'm a fire sign. If y'all want to know, yes, I'm an Aries, so I enjoy earthy tones and hot colors. Okay, look at that. Oh, love, love, love it. Now I'm going to take my antiquing wax, and I'm just going to stipple on a little bit of that on top of my love potion sign. So I want to make it look a little more crusty and old. Then I'll use my varnished silver alcohol spray, give it a few little spritz, put some little dots and aging on it. Look at that. Yes. Let that dry. Just set it aside and let it dry while we work on the next part of our painting. I took a little bit of regular Mod Podge and water, about half and half. I wanted to kind of, well, no, probably not half and half, more like maybe a fourth of water to the Mod Podge. And then I'm adding a little bit of the paints that I showed you before to each of the cups, because I want to thin the paints down. My poor gold. I need a new bottle. I'm going to shake that up. I'm going to spray it in there or squeeze it in there. And I'm probably putting maybe a half a teaspoon, probably not even that much in there, you know, just a good squirt. I'm going to add the Tuscan red to that copper, because I want a metallic looking red, and I don't have one, so we're going to make it. I've got my turntable. I've glued a paper plate down. I've got a little vase thingy, a little thing to put underneath it so that it is held up, and we're going to start pouring that paint, y'all. Yes, I have never done a paint pour, and I'm sure there's other ways to do this, but this worked for me, so hopefully you can use this idea for it to work for you. I want this bottle to be so old looking and look like whoever owned it has been desperately seeking love for so long that she or he has used the heck out of this bottle. It has so many spills down it, it's been just used forever. Perhaps it's in an apothecary, and the lady who is trying to make everyone's dreams come true has just doled this out constantly over the millennia. And it's just crusty. It's just crusty. It's got drips all over it. So when I put the copper and red down, of course it looks red and copper, you know, almost immediately the color that it's going to be, but it will change color when it dries. I decided to add some of my chalk paint to the silver just to darken it up a little bit. You're going to have to play around with the consistency when you do this to see if you need to add more water or if you need to add more of your Mod Podge. I'm going to put this on after my red is dry. My first layer I won't dry, but I'm not going to thoroughly dry in between my second two layers. I'm going to dry a little bit. You can see what I'm doing here. This one's a little bit thinner. And then I am going to take the other color, that's champagne, and I put right on here, my gold. And so that's going to kind of blend in a little bit. I'm also going to put a little bit of the red and then some gold and some silver right on the top, the mouth of this lid, so that it, you know, looks like, of course, if you pour something, it gets on the mouth of the lid, right? Or not the lid, the mouth of the bottle. Oh my, someone needs more coffee. Okay, so I did that there. I'm going to let that dry also. Just, you know, kind of here and there. And then, of course, whatever treatment we use on the rest of the bottle needs to be on our lid too. So I'm just going to use my little pouncer here and just put a little bit of that on here. It looks kind of bubbly, but that'll go away whenever it's starting to dry. I'll grab those same colors that we mixed up here, and I'm going to grab that rose and go back over the rose with it. Is it necessary to do this many layers of paint on any project? If you want to achieve this look, then yes, it is necessary. This project, you're not going to do in 20 minutes. But to me, it's worth it. It is going to be so worth it when you see it. I promise you. I promise you. I'm not going to let you down on this one, y'all. I'm not going to let you down. Okay. So you can dry a little bit. You can shake off your excess, and then you can put it aside and let everything dry. Everything is dried overnight for me. So there's a beautiful top. Look at that rose. You wouldn't have achieved that look unless you took all the time that you took to do that. You can do it. Just because it takes time to do it does not mean it's hard to do. There's a difference, okay? Be patient. To have something like this, you've got to be willing to put into work and be patient and have some faith in yourself, okay? Did you see how beautiful those colors blended, the top two colors? Ugh, obsessed. So here we are with the copper and the gold. I'm going to take a very soft brush here, and I am going to try to get most of it off. In any of those areas, like on the rose where I really want it to stand out, I'm going to go back over it with a combination of those colors. I'm also going to take that same brush, and in those areas that don't have any paint except black, I'm just going to lightly brush over those spots, just kind of dragging it over just to highlight it just a tad. And you can see I'm kind of dragging that paint from the bottom, slightly up the bottle into where the black is. I love the drips on this. It's just beautiful to me. All right, so we're going to assemble the top now. I'm going to use some E6000 on the top and a little bit of hot glue as well when my glue gun wants to behave. And then I'm going to set that rose at an angle, what's kind of centered but on an angle. I'm going to push it down with my fingers and let the hot glue grab it. I found this beautiful button at the thrift store not long ago. So I'm going to add her to the bottle because don't you want a Cupid on your bottle for love potion? Of course you do. I'm going to put it right up here on the neck. I'm going to take this middle piece. I'm going to bend it almost like a crown, and it's going to be the backing of where our rose is. The color is perfect. I'm not going to change anything as far as that goes. I will be painting the little Cupid though, no worries. And I'm going to put this right in the back. This almost looks like the rose is sitting on a throne, or that there's a crown back here. Either way, I think it's very nice little extra detail. You can add an extra rose. You can do this however you want. You can put your heart there. If you have a button you like, you can put that there. Make it your own. All right, so here's that beautiful top. Here is our beautiful jar. And we're just gonna, or our bottle, and we're just gonna pop this inside. I'm just trying to decide what angle I want it to be at, and I want it slightly to the side. Now we're going to add our beautiful label, and I'm going to just kind of tuck it around where the flowers are, and I am going to push it down and have some little hot glue there to hold it in place. I'm using a very thin strand of hot glue because I don't want it to show through my label. They didn't have glue guns way back, you know, so hey, I'm trying to be close as authentic as I can possibly be. And you can see I went over the little Cupid there with our copper and gold mixture. And this is how our bottle is going to look when it is complete. Our love potion number 9. Let's add a little quick spritz on top where it is gold up here. And then she is completely ready to go. And you could completely leave that out if you don't have it, or you can use a stiff brush and some black paint to just flick that on there to get that same look. If you enjoyed this bottle as much as I enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, liking the video, sharing it with someone that you care about that would also enjoy the content. All these things help to let YouTube know that I'm giving you quality material that is valuable to you, so that they can recommend more to you. Here's that other little piece. Some Java chalk paint, brushes, and also some black chalk paint, and this little book that comes from Dollar Tree. I know that I want to put this on here because I want to add a little more dimension onto the book, And I thought, hey, let's make this like a magic book. So we're going to put this down on here with some hot glue. I'm putting the glue down and then smearing it with the hot tip of that glue gun, smearing that around because I want it to be, make sure that it's flat, but I do not want this to pop off at all. So I'll do a couple of things to make sure she stays in place. I'm going to get it centered, press it down, flip it over, give it a little time to dry. And then we're going to address the little line or the gap between the outside. So it's kind of squared off where it meets, and we're going to do it like you would do caulking in a bathtub. So you want to go around the edge with the tip of the glue gun right in the angle there, right between the two, and just pull that bead of glue continuously all the way around. And that's going to kind of seal it and make it look like it's made into the book cover rather than glued on top. I've taken the Java paint and painted everything except for the pages on the side and the top of the book. And I'm going to paint the bottom of this the Java color too. Just my preference because it's going to be sitting on a shelf. It's going to be standing up on a shelf actually, so you won't see it. But if you want yours to lay down like in a stack, of course you would want to make this look like pages as well. But who wants to see those holes in there, right? Nobody wants to see those holes. So I'm not going to do anything to draw attention to that. They do kind of disappear though when you put black or dark brown on there. All right, so now we got the pages to deal with. I did make a mess on the top, but I want to show you that it doesn't matter. I'm going to take this mocha paint and have these pages looking like they're aged. I'm going to put it where all the pages would be, and you see that it gives a pretty good coverage right over the top of that. I don't need it to be complete full coverage because we are also going to age these book pages, and you're not going to notice any of that darker color underneath. You could do plaster, you could do white, you could do gray. If you wanted these to be solid gold, they could be solid gold. If you wanted them to be bronze, you could paint them bronze. So many options for just the tiniest amount of money, right? And you most likely already have a variety of paints that you already love in your house, so use what you have. And we'll go all the way up to the spine of the book. We're going to make sure that that is good and dry. This is like a puffy sticker. I had a few of these from the scrapbooking days, and I saved them, and I've used them in projects, and I really enjoy them because they have an aged look. But in order to make this look like it's part of the book, I want to be sure I don't have any of that paper showing. So I am going to take some black paint. You could also use the Java paint if that's what you choose. It's a very dark brown. And I'm going to go all around the edge to cover up the paper color and just, you know, give it that extra little bit so that it doesn't stand out as being a sticker on top of a book. I'm going to try to get that placed where I like it on the bottle that's on there. And it says potions, so you can see that it's a potion bottle, and this is our potion book and our little spell book. Okay, y'all, the numbers. Y'all figured out what this 1693 is? What movie is it from? Think about it. And I'm also going to take these tree stickers. I do use 2 of these. I'm going to get these ready and set them aside and start working on this book over here. I just knew that I had to get those stamps out. I didn't want to forget what I wanted to do with them. Just like when you're putting on blush, you want to pack it into the brush and you want to tap it off, right? You want to get off the excess so you just don't smear your face up with color. You don't want fully saturated color. That's kind of like it is here. I'm using like a stenciling, kind of swirling over the details on the corners of this book. Now I know that the dark brown that I used, you can't really see all the details in it. Trust me, take my word for it. They're there. There's a lot of detail in this little, what is this? Plaster piece, ceramic piece. And I'm going over it with this black to make it really kind of give the depth that I'm looking for. And sometimes the brush sheds, just flick it off like I did. Now you can see it, right? If you want to do the whole book like this and that's all, you can. See, I'm getting around the edges too, just like how a book would get kind of dirty and bumped up on the edges. I'm going to drag it all down the spine, but with a lighter hand so that it doesn't look as dark. Now, the lighter little spots you see on the back of the book is just because of the material that the book is made out of. And until you seal that chalk paint, it will do that potentially. Now I'm going to go back over and use either black or the brown paint that you use all over where that glue is from the book. We're going to let that dry, and then I'm going to take another little rough brush. It's not a chippy brush. They were all dirty at the time. And I'm going to take some more of that Java paint and just barely drag it across to make it look like pages. I'm going to grab my favorite espresso, push that paint up into the fibers of the brush, really push it up in there, and I still thought I had too much, so I grabbed a paper towel, pounced a little more off. Now I'm going to lay that brush almost at a 45-degree angle and just lightly pull it over the details. Now you can see the details. The good thing about this is because you put the black down underneath, it really recesses those areas, and the areas that are higher that you're putting your metallic color on looks a lot higher. So the spaces look deeper. Does that make sense? It gives more of a look of depth. It really does. It makes it look more like something that has been carved, into the book. And I love that. I think it makes the piece look so pretty. It doesn't take a lot of work, really, and this is just a very little amount of paint. And you can build it up as much as you want, because everything that you touch with that metallic color is going to be highlighted. I'm just putting a tiny, tiny bit over the potion just so that it looks like it belongs on the book. You could use a silver here, you could use gold, you could use copper, whatever you want to use on your book. You could make your book completely black rather than using the dark brown. But to me, the difference in the colors is what makes the depths and makes everything look it just pops to the eye to me. Now add as little or as much as you want. I'm also going to do the binding or the spine of the book by dragging it across. And I thought, the fabric that you see on old books, it's not just like a paper. You know what it is. Y'all know if you have an appreciation for old books, it's a fabric. And it almost has like a hash type pattern. It's like a linen that's on the books. So I thought by making that crisscross that it really would sell the fact that this is a real book. In my mind, as real as you can get it for something that's a craft, right? And then I'm going to take what's left on the brush and drag it across the areas of the pages. But like I said, your pages could be completely one solid color if you would like. Now, of course, we did it to the front. We need to go on to the back and do the same thing. So I'm just dragging it across the back, and I'm going to do in two different directions, lighter in the center and heavier toward all of the outside edges. And it just gives it more of like a fabric look on the back. And you see my little fingers fit right down in the bottom. It makes it easier for me to hold the thing while it's wet. Now, I'll have this link for you as well. And this is Tim Holtz. This is not a sponsored video, but I ordered some of these from Amazon, and I think they'll be great for this project. I'm going to take this ink pad and I'm going to go right over this 1693, just tap, tap, tap. This does have like a distressed look, the stamps themselves. And I think I thrifted the stamps, but you could get something at Dollar Tree, I'm sure. I'll sit it down, and without moving it up, I'm going to rock it back and forth. It looks weathered and worn and old, and I love it. Then I'm going to add a tree at the bottom, pressing it down and rocking it back and forth gently, and then lifting that off. And then I decided to try a different tree for the other section, and I was so excited that these stamps fit on this book. It's given me so many ideas. Making sure my placement's where I want it. Same thing, I'm just going to rock it a little bit. And I'm not even going to distress over the top. I'm going to leave it just like that, and I think that is so cool. And if you didn't guess, this is Hocus Pocus. Yep, our sisters from Hocus Pocus. Let that thing completely dry, and she is ready to go somewhere in a vignette in your home. And you know, really honestly, you could use this in moody decor any time of the year, but at Halloween, this is a good one to add. Here she is, and I think it turned out very nice. It's different, it's special to me. You know, it's exactly like I like it, and I encourage you to make things exactly how you like it. No need to copy anybody, right? I want you to look at this rectangle right here. If you like this video, I think you're going to like this one too. I thank you for stopping by. I will see you soon. Bye.